We are getting our first-hand look at body camera footage showing the arrest of 21-year-old King Harris, the son of rapper T.I., taken into custody over the weekend by Gwinnett County Police after they say he was speeding, going 65 in a 45 in this Tesla Cybertruck. When they pulled him over, they saw there was a handgun on the dashboard. They asked him to step out, but Harris refused multiple times. At one point, he said he didn't feel safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, BuzzBuster is happy to see you again. Smash that subscribe button and let's start. King Harris, the son of T.I., was taken into custody over the weekend, but the arrest itself is only part of the story drawing major attention. What has people really talking is everything that reportedly unfolded after he was brought in. Online footage has been circulating rapidly, and in that clip, T.I. appears to arrive to see his son while emotions seem to rise almost immediately.
Corners, the end of the dash cam shows T.I. arriving on scene within 15 minutes of his son being cuffed. Police say once Harris got to jail, they found an oxycodone pill on him. This morning, he is facing multiple charges, including obstruction, speeding, a seatbelt violation, also drug possession.
Viewers believe the exchange turned extremely tense, with many claiming he strongly confronted King during the visit. Since that video surfaced, conversation around the situation has exploded across social media. This is the kind of story that instantly pulls people in, because it combines a traffic stop, a celebrity family, and a very public moment that many believe should have stayed private. The footage, the reports, and the reaction have all fueled even more curiosity. A lot of people want to know exactly what led up to the arrest, what officers say happened at the scene, and why the family interaction afterward is now becoming such a major focus. According to reports, the incident began early Sunday morning at around 1 a.m. in Gwinnett County. Police say King Harris was stopped after officers recorded him traveling 60 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone.
Yeah, I am doing 61 and a 45 and I am not gaining on him. He's also all over the road.
On its own, that would normally be a fairly standard traffic stop. Drivers get pulled over for speeding every day, and in many cases, the situation is over within minutes. Here, however, the stop reportedly changed direction very quickly. After approaching the vehicle, officers allegedly saw a firearm inside the car. That discovery appears to have immediately raised the seriousness of the encounter. Police then instructed Harris to step out of the vehicle. Multiple reports say he did not follow that command, and that refusal is what led authorities to arrest him on an obstruction charge.
Once Harris was detained, officers moved forward with a search. During that process, they reportedly found a vape pen containing 10 milligrams of THC. That detail added another layer to an already attention-grabbing situation, and it helped turn what might have remained a local police matter into a much larger public story. The combination of the traffic stop, the reported firearm, the obstruction allegation, and the THC vape pen quickly gave the incident far more visibility than a routine case would usually receive.
Rapper King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny Harris, arrested early Sunday morning in Gwinnett County following a traffic stop. Gwinnett County jail records showing the 21-year-old is charged with speeding, obstruction of a police officer, and drug possession.
Still, what seems to have pushed this story into another category entirely is the reaction that followed. The reports about T.I. arriving to see his son are what truly shifted public conversation. Instead of people focusing only on the traffic stop and the charges, attention started moving toward the family dynamic captured in the circulating footage. That is where the internet really locked in. Clips like this often spread because they give people a glimpse into a moment that feels raw and unfiltered. In this case, viewers believe they are watching a father respond to a serious situation involving his son, and that alone is enough to spark intense debate. Some people see it as a parent trying to hold his child accountable during a difficult moment. Others believe the confrontation appeared harsh. Because the footage has been shared so widely, nearly everyone seems to have an opinion. What is making this even bigger is the fact that this is not just any family. When a public figure is involved, private tension can instantly become public discussion. That is exactly what seems to be happening here. Every reported detail is being examined, every frame of the video is being replayed, and every reaction online is adding more momentum. The result is that a police stop that began in the early hours of the morning has now become a viral topic far beyond Gwinnett County.
Harris reportedly refused to get out of the car. Police say they then found a THC vape pen on him. On Instagram, Harris posted video in the outfit comparing police to Team Rocket, writing in part that he was living a good Pikachu life in Tokyo and then came back to ATL. And Team Rocket caught me with a master ball and threw me in jail all night.
There is also something about the sequence of events that keeps people engaged. First came the stop for speeding. Next, the reported sighting of a firearm. After that, the allegation that Harris refused an officer's order to exit the car. Then came the arrest for obstruction, followed by the reported discovery of the THC vape pen. Finally, the video of T.I. arriving and what many believe was a heated exchange added a personal and emotional dimension to the story. Each new piece built on the one before it, making the situation feel more dramatic with every update. At this point, interest in the case is being driven by two different questions. One is legal. What exactly happened during the stop, and how will the reported charges be handled? The other is personal. What happened between T.I. and King Harris during that visit, and why did that moment resonate so strongly with viewers? Those two angles together are why the story is getting so much attention right now. For many watching from the outside, the most surprising part is not that an arrest happened, but how quickly the aftermath became a spectacle. A moment involving law enforcement was followed by a highly discussed family interaction, and once video entered the picture, the story took on a life of its own. Social media tends to amplify scenes like this, especially when there is already public familiarity with the people involved. That appears to be exactly what happened here. Right now, the footage continues to circulate, and the conversation around it shows no sign of slowing down. People are still trying to piece together the timeline, understand what was said, and make sense of why this moment has hit such a nerve online.
He was instructed to step out of the vehicle because there was a firearm on the dashboard, and we wanted to separate him from that, and he refused. He was even told that, according to Supreme Court case law, he is required to exit a vehicle when he is requested to do so by a law enforcement officer. Pennsylvania versus Mens, he stated that, he doesn't have to, he doesn't want to. He was informed that he is under arrest at the time. He's still continuing to refuse to exit the vehicle.
What started as a late-night traffic stop has now grown into one of those stories that people keep revisiting, not just because of the arrest itself, but because of the tension, the visibility, and the family confrontation that reportedly followed. What happened next barely felt real. The moment the details came out, the incident stopped being just another late-night arrest and turned into one of those stories the internet could not stop talking about. The reason was obvious almost immediately. King Harris was reportedly taken into custody while dressed head to toe in a Pikachu onesie. That single detail changed everything. Here was a 21-year-old man, fully grown, and not just anyone either. He is the son of one of Atlanta's most recognized rap figures, and suddenly his name was attached to a late-night traffic stop, handcuffs, and a Pokemon costume. It was such an unusual image that social media ran with it instantly. People were not just reacting to the arrest itself, they were reacting to the sheer absurdity of how it looked. Once TMZ published the story, it moved fast. Within hours, the report had spread to major media outlets everywhere, turning what could have been a local headline into a national talking point. The visual alone was enough to fuel endless reposts, memes, and commentary. In a media landscape where attention moves quickly, this story had everything needed to explode. Celebrity connection, strange timing, and an image too bizarre for people to ignore. Court and jail information added even more weight to the situation. Based on records cited by Complex, King was booked on a felony charge involving possession of a controlled substance. On top of that, he also faced a misdemeanor count for willful obstruction of law enforcement officers.
The officer, I should say, warned that he would be arrested for obstruction. He did make a phone call. He says it was to his lawyer. So while police did identify a pill found as oxycodone, it's not clear if this was for a legal prescription or not.
As if that were not enough, 2 separate traffic citations were also included, one related to speeding and another for a seatbelt violation. Taken together, that meant 4 separate issues tied to one single traffic stop. That is the kind of detail that instantly raises eyebrows. What may have started as a routine roadside encounter quickly became something much bigger. At least on paper. A single stop had now turned into a headline-making case with multiple charges attached, and that only pushed the story further into the spotlight. Still, what made this situation even more surprising was King Harris's reaction afterward. Instead of disappearing from public view or staying quiet while the attention built, he appeared completely unfazed. There was no visible attempt to step back and let the story cool down. In fact, he seemed to lean directly into the moment. Rather than avoiding the cameras, Harris reportedly documented the episode on his Instagram stories. He shared selfies of himself still wearing the Pikachu outfit, turning what many people would consider an embarrassing moment into content. That choice alone kept the story alive, because now the public was not just discussing the arrest report, they were also watching how he responded to it in real time. His tone seemed more playful than worried. At one point, he compared the police to Team Rocket, the well-known villains from the Pokemon world. That reference added another strange layer to an already surreal situation. What might have otherwise been treated as a serious and quiet legal matter was suddenly being framed through jokes, costume photos, and cartoon comparisons. On Instagram, he also posted about living a good Pikachu life, a caption that only added to the internet's fascination. For many viewers, that line perfectly captured the strange mix of celebrity culture, online performance, and real-life consequences all colliding at once. The legal issues were serious, but the public image surrounding them felt almost impossible to believe.
That contrast is what made the story hit so hard. On one side, there were official charges, booking records, and police involvement. On the other, there was a young public figure treating the moment like a scene from a viral skit, smiling in costume and posting through the chaos. It created a split-screen effect people could not stop watching. Moments like this tend to grow beyond the facts themselves. Once the image takes over, the narrative becomes bigger than the paperwork. In this case, the paperwork mattered, but the visual became the real engine of the story. A celebrity son, a felony booking, a traffic stop in the middle of the night, and a full Pikachu outfit was the kind of combination the internet was always going to magnify. By then, the situation had moved well beyond a standard arrest report. It had become one of those pop culture moments where the image, the reaction, and the online commentary all blended into one giant spectacle.
So yesterday, King Harris, aka T.I. and Tiny's son, was arrested for speeding and possession of a firearm and some open containers of marijuana. It was a lot, but he got locked up. This is his mugshot.
King Harris did not seem interested in shrinking away from that spotlight. If anything, his post suggested he understood exactly how unusual the moment looked and chose to play into it rather than run from it. That approach only made the buzz louder. Every post, every screenshot, and every headline added another layer to the public reaction. What started with a traffic stop quickly turned into a viral storm, driven as much by the costume and social media response as by the official allegations themselves. In the end, that is what made the whole thing unforgettable. It wasn't only the arrest, it was the image, it was the reaction, it was the way a serious situation collided with internet culture in the most unexpected way possible. And once that happened, the story was no longer just news, it became a spectacle.
Tokyo one moment, back in ATL with Team Rocket the next. Not long after, he added another post leaning into the chaos, joking that if someone had a master ball, they could lock him up for the whole night. He followed that with a blunt punchline. Pikachu was free, and Team Rocket could forget about it. Online, the response exploded immediately. Memes spread at lightning speed. Joke after joke flooded every platform. Before long, one image took over everything. King Harris in a bright yellow Pikachu outfit standing in front of a booking camera for his mugshot. That picture became social media fuel almost instantly, turning into one of the most widely circulated images of the night. After the weekend arrest, Harris was able to get out of custody once bond was posted. On its own, that would have already been enough to dominate timelines for a day or two. Yet the story didn't stop there. What pushed it into an even bigger spotlight was what appeared next. Soon after, video clips began making the rounds showing T.I. arriving to check on his son while he was being held. Those clips landed everywhere at once, across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and people could not stop watching them. The internet went into full analysis mode. Viewers zoomed in on every second. They studied his face, his posture, his silence, and the heavy look of a father forced to watch his son deal with another very public setback. That was the part that really connected with people. It wasn't only about a celebrity arrest, a costume, or a viral mugshot. The deeper reason the footage resonated is that this moment did not feel isolated. For many people following the situation, it looked like another chapter in a longer story that has been unfolding for years.
I'm going to cut ties with King, and I'm going to apologize to 50 Cent. Just like he said, King really is a failure. I've solved too many problems for him, to the point where he started to believe that as long as I'm there to back him up, everything can keep going. But this time is different.
King Harris has had previous run-ins with law enforcement. This wasn't the first time his name had been tied to this kind of headline, and it wasn't even the second. That history is exactly why this latest incident landed with so much force online. To some viewers, the clips of T.I. weren't just about one father showing up for one difficult night. They seemed to represent something larger: frustration, concern, and the emotional toll of seeing the same cycle repeat in front of the public. Because of that, the conversation quickly shifted. At first, people were laughing at the Pokemon references and sharing the mugshot like it was just another viral internet moment. Later, the tone changed. Once those videos surfaced, the jokes started sharing space with a more serious question. How many times can a family go through something like this before it stops being internet entertainment and starts feeling like a warning sign? That tension is what made the story grow beyond the original arrest. On one side, there was the spectacle of it all, the costume, the captions, the memes, and the non-stop reactions. On the other, there was a more personal image that cut through the noise. A father arriving to see his son during a difficult moment, knowing the public was watching every move. For many viewers, that contrast made the whole situation feel more intense than a typical celebrity news cycle. The viral side of the story was easy to laugh at. The human side was harder to ignore. Seeing T.I. in that setting gave people a reminder that behind the headlines, reposts, and trending clips, there is still a family dealing with real consequences in real time. That is why this latest arrest carried more weight than it might have otherwise. It wasn't simply another brief scandal designed to burn hot for a few hours and disappear by the next day. Instead, it tapped into a broader pattern that many people believe has been developing for a long time. The past changed how the public read the present. Once that context entered the conversation, everything about the story felt bigger. The mugshot stopped being just a meme. The footage stopped being just another viral clip. Suddenly, every image seemed to represent something more than the surface-level drama. And that is where the real story begins. To understand why this moment hit so hard, why so many people reacted the way they did, and why the footage of T.I. sparked such a strong response, you have to look at the pattern behind it all. Take a step back and trace the full record of King Harris's legal issues, because this story stretches far beyond a single headline. The pattern has been building for years, and each new incident has brought even more attention to his name. The first major public episode dates back to 2022, when King was still underage. That was the moment many people first saw him in a serious encounter with police. Authorities arrested him after he was reportedly driving without a seatbelt. On its own, that might have seemed like a minor traffic stop, but the situation quickly became part of a much bigger conversation about his attitude and public image.
The moment I got there, I knew this was no longer just a young man making a mistake. This case isn't over legally. I paid $4,545 to bail him out, but at the scene, I didn't see fear in him, and I didn't see real reflection. There was even a sense of emotional resistance. That's when I realized for the first time that he had started to treat rules as something he can challenge.
What stood out was not just the arrest itself, but the way King responded afterward. Even at that stage, he carried himself with a level of pushback and confidence that would later become closely tied to how people viewed him in the spotlight. Instead of treating the situation quietly, he appeared to lean into the attention. In a separate clip that circulated, he joked about what had happened and celebrated his release by saying, "The king is back, bruh. I am back. I'm free." That reaction only added fuel to the public discussion, because it gave people a glimpse of the tone he was taking as these incidents started stacking up. That same 2022 case did not stop at the seatbelt issue. Reports connected the incident to several additional allegations, including speeding, driving on a suspended license, and operating a vehicle while under the influence of drugs. Suddenly, what may have first sounded like a routine stop became something much more serious in the public eye. Each added charge made the timeline more complicated and raised more questions about where things might go next. Trouble escalated again when King reportedly did not appear in court. Missing that court date triggered another legal consequence. A bench warrant was issued for his arrest. For a period of time, that warrant did not lead to immediate action, and it remained unresolved in the background. Even so, it was still hanging over the situation,
waiting to resurface at the worst possible moment. That moment came in October 2024.
By then, the older case had not simply disappeared. Instead, King Harris found himself back in the spotlight after a new incident in Dunwoody drew fresh scrutiny. According to reports, he was accused of almost striking a police officer at a gas station. Authorities then took him into custody after an officer said there was a marijuana odor coming from his vehicle. Once again, a police encounter involving King moved quickly from a local matter to a widely discussed public controversy. The October 2024 arrest became even more visible once body camera footage made its way online. That video gave viewers a front-row look at the interaction and instantly pushed the case into broader internet conversation. Instead of relying only on second-hand descriptions, the public was now able to watch parts of the stop unfold for themselves. Whenever footage like that appears, it tends to intensify reactions, and this case was no exception. Reports say the encounter began after Harris allegedly came close to colliding with a police cruiser. From there, the situation developed into another major legal flashpoint in his already growing record. For critics, it looked like a continuation of the same troubling pattern. For supporters, it became another heavily watched chapter in a story that had already been surrounded by controversy. Seen as a full timeline, the issue is not just about one arrest here or one charge there. It is the accumulation that makes the story stand out. Starting in 2022, King Harris entered public legal trouble while still a teenager. The original arrest involved a seatbelt violation, but the fallout expanded to include allegations of speeding, driving with a suspended license, and driving under the influence of drugs. After he reportedly missed court, a bench warrant followed. That unresolved warrant then remained in the background until October 2024, when a new police encounter in Dunwoody brought everything back into focus.
This young blood was riding through Dunwoody, Georgia, probably thinking he was just living his best life, when boom, he nearly clipped a police cruiser pulling out of a gas station. The officer stopped him for failure to yield, noticed the smell of marijuana, and observed a firearm on Harris's hip.
What makes this sequence especially striking is how public each phase became. The incidents were not confined to court paperwork or police reports. Clips circulated, comments went viral, body camera footage surfaced. Every development added another layer to the image people were already forming of him. In the age of social media, legal issues do not stay private for long. And in King's case, each chapter seemed to arrive with even more visibility than the one before it. At the center of it all is a timeline that keeps drawing attention because it appears connected, not isolated. One event led into another. An early arrest brought charges. A missed court date led to a warrant. A later stop in October 2024 reopened public focus and placed his past legal problems right back under the microscope. That is why people continue to revisit the full history instead of only the latest headline. When the pieces are laid out in order, the picture becomes much clearer. King Harris's legal troubles did not begin recently, and they did not unfold in a vacuum. From the 2022 arrest as a teenager to the October 2024 Dunwoody incident, the timeline shows a series of moments that have steadily built a controversial and closely watched public narrative. As Harris pulled away from a gas station in his BMW, police moved in and conducted a traffic stop. The moment officers approached the car, they reported detecting the odor of marijuana coming from inside. They also saw that Harris had a firearm secured at his hip. Once they checked his information, another issue surfaced. Authorities learned he had an active warrant tied to a failure to appear in court. What stands out, though, is how routine the encounter appeared to be at the time. According to the arresting officer's report from the 2024 incident, the situation remained calm and manageable from start to finish.
In that report, the officer noted that Harris cooperated during the arrest and that the firearm was removed from his hip without any problem. There was no description of a chaotic confrontation, no indication that the stop spiraled out of control. On paper, it looked like a fairly straightforward arrest that followed a standard process once officers confirmed the warrant. After being taken into custody, Harris was first booked into the DeKalb County Jail. From there, he was later turned over to authorities in Pickens County because of the outstanding warrant connected to that jurisdiction. For a time, that case remained hanging over him in the background, another unresolved legal issue waiting for its final outcome. Eventually, that matter appeared to clear. The Pickens County charges were formally dropped in an order issued in August 2025. At least on the surface, it looked like the kind of development that could mark a reset, a fresh opening. a rare opportunity to leave legal trouble behind and focus on the future instead of the past. For a brief moment, it may have seemed like the pressure had eased. The path ahead looked less complicated, yet that calm did not last long. The stretch between those dismissed charges and the latest arrest in Gwinnett County was surprisingly short. In fact, less than 8 months separated the two developments.
Rapper T.I.'s son, King Harris, has found himself in legal trouble after a near collision with a police cruiser in Dunwoody, Georgia. The search also uncovered a warrant for King's failure to appear in court in Pickens County. While one of his passengers was cited for drug possession, King was arrested and taken to DeKalb County Jail.
That timeline is what makes the situation feel especially striking. Just when one chapter seemed to close, another one was already beginning. Any sense of stability proved temporary, and whatever breathing room existed disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. At the same time, Harris's personal life was unfolding in a very different way. While legal matters were shifting in the background, he was also stepping into a major family milestone. During that same period, he welcomed a baby boy.
He shared the news publicly on Instagram, revealing the birth with a short but celebratory message. Number 5, 8:09 a.m., welcome King Jr. Time to take over. The post captured a completely different side of the story, one centered on family, pride, and a new beginning. It suggested a moment of joy at a time when other parts of life remained far more uncertain. His mother, Tiny Harris, was said to be thrilled by the arrival. For the family, the birth of King Jr. was clearly something to celebrate, a bright and hopeful moment that stood in sharp contrast to the legal headlines surrounding Harris. One side of the story pointed toward court records, arrests, and unresolved public scrutiny. The other pointed toward fatherhood, family excitement, and the promise that comes with welcoming a new child into the world. That contrast is hard to ignore. On one hand, there was the appearance of a legal reset after the Pickens County charges were dropped. On the other, there was a deeply personal milestone that seemed to signal growth and a new phase of life. Yet, despite those encouraging signs, the sense of peace was fleeting. What makes this sequence so compelling is not just what happened, but how quickly everything unfolded. A cooperative arrest in 2024, charges dropped in August 2025, a child welcomed into the family. Then, before much time had passed, another arrest in Gwinnett County. The swings between relief, celebration, and renewed legal trouble came fast. Taken together, these events paint a picture of a period filled with sharp turns. One moment suggested closure, the next introduced more uncertainty. Even with what looked like a chance to move forward, that opening narrowed almost immediately, leaving behind a story defined by both personal joy and mounting legal complications.
Well, before the child was born, King and Jay Nija marked the pregnancy with a baby shower that brought everyone together. Relatives and close friends gathered around them, turning the occasion into a full family celebration. Tiny later posted pictures from the day and made her excitement clear, saying that her son King was about to become a father and that she could hardly contain how thrilled she was to meet her grandson. At that moment, the picture seemed hopeful. Here was a young man stepping into parenthood, while the people closest to him rallied around that new chapter. Earlier legal issues were no longer hanging over him, and for a brief time, it looked like life might be moving in a more stable direction. The family was focused on a new baby, a fresh beginning, and the kind of milestone that often signals maturity and change. What makes everything that followed feel so jarring is how quickly the story shifted. Only a few months later, King was once again in the back of a police car. This time, the image was even more surreal because he was wearing a Pikachu costume, and now there was a felony charge involved. That contrast is impossible to ignore. One season of life was filled with baby shower photos, family joy, and anticipation for a grandson. The next brought another arrest, another viral moment, and another wave of public reaction. That sharp collision between celebration and setback is exactly why the footage of T.I. visiting him during this latest detention hit so hard for so many people. Viewers were not just reacting to a famous father seeing his son in custody. They were watching a moment loaded with disappointment, concern, history, and the weight of expectations that had been building for years. It felt bigger than a single incident because to a lot of people, it seemed like the latest chapter in a much longer and far more complicated story.
To really understand why that video carried such emotional force, you have to look at the environment King Harris was raised in and the pressure that comes with it. He did not grow up in private. From an early age, his life unfolded in front of an audience.
Because of T.I. and Tiny, the family hustle, public attention was never something distant or occasional. It was constant. Cameras were there while he was still a kid, documenting the rhythms of family life and turning ordinary experiences into televised moments. That kind of upbringing changes everything. Most people get to figure themselves out away from headlines, online commentary, and public judgment. King did not have that luxury. His childhood, his personality, and his family dynamics were all visible to viewers who felt like they knew him.
His ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep this shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it.
As a result, every stage of his development became something people could discuss, analyze, and criticize from the outside. Nothing stayed small for long. A personal milestone was not just a private family memory. It could become a post, a clip, or a news item. A disagreement was not merely a rough moment at home. It could become a scene that audiences replayed and debated. Progress was seen. Missteps were seen too. In many ways, King grew up under a spotlight that never really switched off. That matters because public visibility creates its own kind of burden. When a child is raised in a famous household, especially one already associated with strong personalities and a larger-than-life image, people start forming expectations long before that child becomes an adult. They expect confidence, they expect discipline, they expect success. Sometimes they also expect drama. Whether those assumptions are fair or not, they become part of the story surrounding that person.
For King, every move seems to land in that space between family legacy and personal identity. People do not simply see a young man making choices. They see T.I.'s son. They see Tiny's son. They measure him against the image of the family, against what they think he should represent, and against the idea of what someone with his platform and opportunities ought to become. That can turn even a single incident into something much heavier. Seen in that light, the detention footage carried more than the shock of the moment itself. It reflected years of being watched, years of expectation, and years of public commentary attached to a life that had barely known privacy. Millions were not only responding to what happened that day, they were reacting to the visible tension between who King is, who people hoped he would be, and the reality that his life keeps playing out in front of everyone. That is why the imagery felt so powerful. On one side, there was the joy of a family preparing to welcome a new baby. On the other, there was another encounter with law enforcement and another difficult headline. Those two pictures sit side by side in a way that makes the story feel especially dramatic. The excitement of becoming a father should have marked the start of a steadier chapter. Instead, it was followed by yet another moment of public trouble. In the end, that is what made the scene with T.I. so affecting. It was not just about a father showing up. It was about a parent confronting the gap between hope and reality while the world watched. It was about a family that had just been celebrating new life, now facing another deeply public setback. Most of all, it was about a young man who has spent nearly his entire life on camera, with every triumph and every stumble captured, packaged, broadcast, and judged in real time.
For most kids, the worst choices they make happen away from public view. They get to grow, stumble, and figure things out without millions of people watching. King Harris never really had that kind of privacy. Every misstep, every headline, every tense moment has unfolded in front of an audience. That pressure becomes even heavier when your father is T.I., born Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., a name that carries enormous weight in Southern hip-hop. His influence on the genre is hard to overstate. He played a major role in shaping trap music into what the world now recognizes. Beyond music, he expanded his reach by building Grand Hustle Records into a powerful brand. His career stretched into movies, publishing, and television, turning him into far more than just a rapper. Yet the story surrounding T.I. has never been a simple rise to the top narrative. Alongside the success, there has always been a more difficult chapter running in parallel, one tied to the legal system and the consequences that came with it. In 2007, he was arrested on federal weapons charges. That case led to time in federal prison. After his release, more trouble followed when he violated probation and returned to custody. Those experiences matter here because they shape the way he sees the world, and especially the way he
sees his son's choices. This is not a man speaking from a distance or guessing at what the system can do. He has lived through it firsthand. He understands what happens when freedom disappears. He knows the emotional cost, the strain it places on relationships, and the way families are pulled apart when someone ends up behind bars. Because of that history, T.I. has repeatedly spoken, often very openly and on camera, about a fear that has clearly followed him for years. He has worried that King might be drifting toward the same kind of road that brought so much damage into his own life. That concern has not been hidden or whispered about privately. It has surfaced again and again in interviews, across social media, and throughout the family's reality TV exposure, where personal struggles often became public conversation.
This comes just 2 months after King's father, T.I., dealt with his own legal mix-up due to mistaken identity, and the family now faces yet another legal hurdle.
Viewers have seen a father trying to get through to his son while carrying the weight of his own past. Publicly, T.I. has framed himself as someone who made serious mistakes, paid a steep price, and came away changed by the experience. He has presented his life after prison as proof that a person can learn, rebuild, and move differently. At the same time, there has been an obvious urgency in the way he talks about King, as if he recognizes familiar warning signs and desperately wants the cycle to stop before it repeats itself. That is what makes this dynamic so compelling. It is not just a celebrity family dealing with conflict under bright lights. It is a father with first-hand knowledge of how quickly bad decisions can turn into life-altering consequences, watching his son grow up in an environment where every act of rebellion is amplified. The stakes feel larger because T.I. is not reacting to a theory. He is reacting to memories, to lived consequences, to chapters of his own life that he likely does not want his child to relive. King, meanwhile, has had to navigate all of this while carrying a famous last name and growing up in a household already known to the public. That kind of visibility can distort everything. Ordinary family tension stops being ordinary when cameras, headlines, and online reactions enter the picture. A disagreement becomes a talking point. A mistake becomes a clip. A phase of immaturity gets treated like a defining identity.
Still, T.I.'s concern has remained consistent. He has repeatedly signaled that what worries him most is not just embarrassment or bad press. The deeper issue is where reckless behavior can lead if it keeps escalating. His comments over the years have pointed to a very specific fear, that his son could end up facing the same system that once changed his own life so dramatically. What gives those warnings extra force is the fact that T.I. can speak about prison, probation, and legal consequences with a level of realism many people simply do not have. He is not describing abstract punishment. He is talking about something he has already endured. He knows how quickly opportunities can vanish. He knows how easily a family's stability can be shaken. He knows the long shadow that legal trouble can cast over everything else a person tries to build. That history has made his public statements feel less like celebrity commentary and more like personal alarm. Whether in interviews, on social media, or in moments captured through reality television, the message has stayed largely the same. He sees danger in the path King appears to be flirting with, and he does not want that path to end in prison. At the center of all this is a harsh contrast. On one side, there is T.I., a major cultural figure who helped define an era of Southern rap and built a business empire around his talent. On the other, there is a deeply personal struggle involving fatherhood, fear, and the possibility of history repeating itself. Success has given him influence and a platform, but it has not erased the anxiety that comes with watching a son make risky choices in public.
That is why this story resonates beyond fame. It touches on something familiar and uncomfortable, the fear that hard-earned lessons may not be enough to protect the next generation from making the same mistakes. For T.I., that fear appears to be rooted in experience, not image. He has tried to present himself as someone who changed course after prison, someone who learned from what he lost and what it cost him. The painful question hanging over everything is whether those lessons will be heard in time. T.I. knows exactly where certain choices can lead, and for years he has tried to keep his children from walking into the same pitfalls he once faced. Earlier this year, when the Waffle House altercation exploded across social media, he didn't stay silent. He addressed it himself on Instagram, questioning why that dispute had become such a major headline in the first place. His reaction clearly reflected more than irritation with online attention. Beneath it was a deeper disappointment, the hard truth that his son was attracting public notice for all the wrong reasons. At the same time, T.I. has never hesitated to praise King when he gives him something to celebrate. When King graduated high school with honors, his father shared that pride openly. That contrast says everything. On one side, there is the young man capable of academic success and meaningful achievement. On the other, there is the version of him that keeps getting linked to public controversy and police encounters. That divide sits at the center of this story.
It also explains why the detention footage struck such a nerve online. This wasn't simply another celebrity moment getting passed around for entertainment. People responded because the situation carried something much more recognizable and much more painful. Here was a father who understands the system from personal experience, someone who has lived through the consequences, now watching the possibility of that same pattern emerging in his own son's life.
Congratulations to the family.
King is out of prison. King ain't went to prison.
Right.
So we were celebrating that. You know what I mean?
King went to prison. You
nah, I said he ain't went.
Oh.
No, he hasn't went. That's a celebration.
Right.
That's cause for celebration.
What made the clip spread so quickly wasn't just fame. It was the emotional weight behind it. Viewers saw a familiar fear, the helplessness of a parent trying to reach a child before things go too far. In the Harris family's case, that struggle unfolded in front of an audience, making it even harder to ignore. Perhaps that is what makes King Harris's public journey so striking. His life has unfolded in a space where promise and trouble seem to exist side by side, each one competing to define who he becomes. King Harris has built a reputation for saying exactly what he thinks, even when doing that makes him look bad. He does not seem interested in playing it safe or smoothing everything over for public approval. That same fearless attitude was on full display when he made an appearance on The Morning Hustle, where he came in ready to address the noise surrounding his name. Inside the interview, King took time to speak openly about several things at once: what fame feels like from his side, how people judge him from the outside, and why certain moments in his life keep turning into major online talking points. Rather than avoid the controversy, he leaned into it and offered his version directly.
One of the biggest topics was the Waffle House incident that spread quickly online. For anyone who had been wondering what set the whole thing off, King confirmed that the disagreement really did start over something surprisingly small, but clearly frustrating to him. According to his account, the issue was pickles being put on his food after he had specifically said he did not want them. From there, what should have been a simple correction turned into a much bigger scene. King explained that he asked for the order to be remade, expecting the mistake to be fixed. Instead, he said the employee responded with attitude. In telling the story, he described the worker as behaving disrespectfully and reacting in a dismissive way, saying the food was thrown down with an energy that felt like, "I am not remaking this." That moment pushed the situation from a routine customer complaint into a confrontation that got much more heated. Once the dispute spilled onto Instagram Live, the tension between King and the Waffle House employees appeared to rise even further. What began as frustration over an order had now become a public argument with an audience watching in real time. As emotions kept building, King said things reached the point where he suggested they take the disagreement outside. That detail only added to the viral nature of the story, because it transformed an argument over food into something people could not stop discussing online. A lot of viewers were focused not just on what happened, but on how quickly the entire situation escalated. Still, the Waffle House clash was only one part of what he came to discuss. The interview also moved into his ongoing issues with 50 Cent, another conflict that has fueled attention around him. King did not dance around that topic either. He addressed it head on and spoke about one of the most talked about choices he made during that feud.
In particular, he explained why he wore a shirt featuring 50 Cent's late mother. That move drew plenty of reactions, with many people questioning why he would take things in that direction. When asked about it, King gave a straightforward reason for the decision. In his view, 50 Cent had already crossed the line first. That was the basis of his justification. He made it clear that he believed the entertainment mogul had gone after him, and he framed the shirt as part of his response to that tension. Whether people agreed with that choice or not, King presented it as intentional rather than accidental. He wanted listeners to understand that from his perspective, there was a reason behind it. What stands out about the whole interview is how little he tried to soften his image. Plenty of people in his position might have used the platform to walk back earlier moments, shift blame, or offer a polished version of events. King chose a different route.
He spoke in a way that suggested he would rather be criticized for being direct than praised for being overly careful. That approach helps explain why he remains such a talked-about figure. Public interest in him is not just about the incidents themselves. It is also about the way he responds afterward. He often seems willing to own the chaos, explain his mindset, and let people decide for themselves what to make of it. That honesty, even when messy, is a huge part of why his interviews keep generating conversation. At the same time, the interview highlighted the complicated position he occupies. Fame brings visibility, but it also means every disagreement can become a headline, and every emotional reaction can be replayed and picked apart online. King appears fully aware of that reality, yet he does not seem eager to adjust himself to fit what the public might prefer. Instead, he continues to present himself as someone who will speak from his own point of view, no matter how it lands. The Morning Hustle appearance reinforced that image from start to finish. Between the Waffle House story and the explanation of his feud with 50 Cent, he gave audiences more insight into how he sees these controversies and why he has responded the way he has. Love him or criticize him, one thing is difficult to deny. King Harris knows how to keep people paying attention. When he sits down to tell his side, he rarely holds back, and that is exactly what happened here. The interview did not erase the controversy around him, but it did make one thing very clear. He is determined to be heard on his own terms. From the very beginning, his reaction was all about matching the energy coming at him. If someone challenged him, he gave it right back. That combative streak has become a major part of how the public sees King. Walking away is not his style. Offering an apology rarely seems to be the move either. More often, he leans in even harder. Still, King has made it clear that he sees a sharp line between what audiences watch on reality television and what his real life actually looks like. In his view, the moments that explode online and keep his name circulating are not carefully staged or designed for attention. He presents them as honest, unscripted pieces of his everyday life that just happen to be captured and shared. According to King, television only gives people a polished version of events. It is edited, shaped, and packaged for viewers. Social media, by contrast, is where he believes people see the version of him that exists when production ends and the official cameras are gone. That distinction matters to him. He wants people to understand that the person they see online is not a character being performed for clicks. He sees it as the real thing.
That is exactly where the contradiction around King Harris becomes impossible to ignore. He openly pushes for authenticity. He appears committed to living in full view, with very little separation between private emotion and public display. Yet the same no-filter approach that he seems to value is also the thing repeatedly pulling him into serious legal trouble. He wants the public, and especially his community, to believe that his intense personality is not some image he created to stand out. From his perspective, this is simply who he is. There is no costume, no manufactured persona, and no strategy behind it. He frames that fire as his natural truth. The issue is that his current reality now comes with consequences that are far more serious than a viral clip or a heated online exchange. That truth now includes a felony drug possession charge. It also includes a misdemeanor obstruction charge. On top of that, there is a social media trail that only made the situation more eyebrow-raising, including Instagram posts where he appeared to joke about the entire episode while dressed as a Pokemon character. That contrast is what makes the situation feel so striking. On one side, there is a young public figure insisting that every emotional outburst and every headline-making moment is real. On the other, there are legal allegations and online behavior that make the whole story look even more chaotic. For supporters, that may read as honesty. For critics, it can look reckless. Either way, it keeps attention locked on him. What makes it even more dramatic is how quickly he returned to social media once news of the arrest started spreading. There was no long silence, no obvious attempt to disappear from public view. Instead, almost immediately after the details began circulating, Harris was back online, signaling once again that he had no intention of retreating from the spotlight.
That move fit the pattern people have come to expect from him. When controversy builds, he does not seem interested in shrinking from it. If anything, he appears to meet it head-on. Whether that approach reflects confidence, defiance, or simply habit is up for debate. What is harder to debate is the image that keeps taking shape. King as someone determined to remain fully himself in public, regardless of the fallout. In many ways, that is the central tension surrounding him right now. He appears to want complete authenticity, but authenticity without restraint can create consequences that are impossible to brush aside. Living openly may sound admirable in theory, yet when every reaction is visible and every mistake becomes evidence, the cost rises fast.
So it make y'all feel tough.
Not the slightest. All it does is give me some paperwork.
The same raw honesty that helps build a following can also intensify public scrutiny. For King, the message seems consistent. He does not want viewers confusing his life with a neatly produced television storyline. He wants them to see something messier and more immediate. He wants them to believe the version of him online is not edited into something easier to consume. That claim may be sincere. At the same time, sincerity does not shield anyone from the legal system, public criticism, or the long memory of the internet. Now, those realities are colliding in a very public way. His image as a fearless, unfiltered personality is no longer just a branding question or a fan debate. It is tied to charges, courtrooms, and headlines that carry far more weight than entertainment gossip. Even the joking posts that followed only added another layer to the conversation because they suggested a level of comfort with controversy that many people find hard to understand.
So the paradox remains at the center of his story. He wants to be seen as real. And by all appearances, he is giving people exactly that. The complication is that real life does not come with a pause button, and it does not always reward people for showing every side of themselves. In King Harris's case, the more unfiltered the image becomes, the more intense the consequences seem to get. And after this latest arrest, he made sure everyone knew he was still present, still visible, and still unwilling to fade quietly into the background. Shortly after reports about the incident surfaced, Harris took to social media once again. After the arrest, he took to social media and posted a message filled with explicit language aimed at law enforcement, along with comments that many viewed as deliberately provocative because they referenced an officer's family. Whether those posts create additional legal trouble is still unclear. Online, the response was split almost immediately. A portion of his supporters admired what they saw as confidence under pressure. To them, he looked unshaken, unwilling to let the situation break his composure. Another group saw something very different. Critics argue that treating a felony arrest like entertainment on social media is exactly how a serious problem becomes far worse. What really captured people's attention, however, was not just the post itself. It was the stark difference between King's attitude online and the images of his father arriving at the facility. On one side, there was someone acting as if the whole thing could be brushed off with jokes and defiance. On the other, there was a father whose expression suggested the full gravity of the moment had already set in.
That contrast became the image people could not stop talking about. Commentary channels replayed the two side by side, over and over, turning a routine celebrity legal story into something much more emotionally charged. Suddenly, this was no longer just another headline about a famous name in trouble. For many viewers, it became a story about family, consequences, and the visible gap between youthful bravado and real-world fallout. Because of that, the conversation quickly spread beyond hip-hop audiences. People who may not have followed King Harris closely still connected with what they were seeing. The legal issues were one part of the story, but the emotional weight carried by his family made it feel larger. Viewers were not only reacting to charges on paper, they were responding to the human side of the situation, especially the sense that the people around him understood how serious this could become, even if he did not appear to. That brings the focus to the bigger question. What happens next for King Harris? And what does this mean for his family moving forward? At this stage, he is facing several charges, and those allegations could continue to affect him as the case works its way through the legal system. Among them, the felony possession charge stands out as the most serious issue he now has to confront. If the case continues to develop in a difficult direction, the consequences could extend well beyond the immediate headlines. Legal matters of this kind do not simply disappear once the social media cycle moves on. They can stay attached to a person's name, reputation, and future opportunities for a long time. That is why so many people are watching closely now. The story is no longer just about one arrest. It is about whether this becomes a turning point and whether the people closest to him can help change the direction before the damage grows even larger.
For his family, the pressure is just as real. Even if they are not the ones facing the charges directly, public scrutiny tends to expand quickly when a case like this involves a well-known name.
Every appearance, every reaction, and every public statement gets examined. In this case, even a brief moment outside a facility was enough to leave a lasting impression on viewers. King's response may have been intended to show fearlessness, but for many people, it had the opposite effect. Instead of making the situation seem smaller, it made the stakes feel even higher. The more casually he appeared to treat the arrest, the more serious the fallout looked by comparison. That disconnect is a major reason this story has continued to hold attention. Now the key issue is whether the tone changes from here. Public defiance may generate headlines, but it does not reduce the seriousness of a legal case. What matters most is how the situation is handled as it moves forward. For King Harris, that means dealing with multiple charges that could carry long-term consequences. For his family, it means facing the public and private strain that comes with watching a legal battle unfold in real time. At the center of it all is that felony possession charge, the most significant allegation currently on the table. More than anything else in this case, that is the detail likely to shape what comes next. Georgia law treats possession of a Schedule II controlled substance as a serious offense, with consequences that can include substantial penalties and possible time behind bars. Alongside that, the misdemeanor obstruction allegation paints a wider picture prosecutors may focus on if this case eventually reaches trial, especially if they want to argue a lack of cooperation with authorities.
At this point, Harris and his team have not made any official comment about the arrest. The case is still active, and the legal process is continuing. T.I. and Tiny Harris also have not released a public response to the Sunday morning incident. That lack of reaction stands out. In earlier controversies involving their son, both parents have often stepped in publicly. T.I. has used Instagram to share his perspective, while Tiny has sometimes posted messages highlighting King's achievements and personal milestones, which many saw as an effort to shift the public conversation in a more positive direction. This time, though, the response has been very different. There has been no statement, no social media post, and no public defense. Instead, the only thing people have seen is footage suggesting T.I. was present, but notably silent. Online, that silence has sparked plenty of discussion. Many commenters have taken it as a sign that the family may understand the seriousness of this situation in a deeper way than before. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, the absence of a public response has become part of the story itself. For the young artist, this moment adds another major chapter to an already closely watched journey, as he tries to build an identity of his own, separate from the enormous spotlight surrounding his family name. Incidents like this only intensify the pressure. Growing up in the spotlight was never optional for King. With the last name tied to fame, attention has followed him from the beginning. Even so, he has made it clear again and again that he wants to build something that belongs to him alone, centered on his own music, his own image, and his own path, rather than the reputation of his parents.
Still, the story surrounding him keeps drifting in another direction. Instead of conversations focused on his creative work or professional progress, public attention has repeatedly shifted toward legal issues. That pattern has become harder to ignore as the years have gone on. Harris is 21, and despite coming from one of the most recognizable families in entertainment, his record has already raised serious concern. Looking at the sequence of events makes the situation feel even more striking. In 2022, he was arrested and faced charges tied to speeding and driving with a suspended license. After that, he did not appear in court, which led to a bench warrant being issued. What could have been handled as a warning sign early on instead became the first major marker in a larger chain of public trouble. 2 years later, in 2024, he was arrested again, this time in Dunwoody, after reportedly almost colliding with a police cruiser. During that encounter, authorities discovered an outstanding warrant. He was booked into the DeKalb County Jail and later transferred to Pickens County. That incident pushed the story back into the public conversation and added another headline to a growing list. By August 2025, the charges in Pickens County were dropped. For a moment, it may have looked like the pressure around him could ease. A few months later, in November 2025, he welcomed a baby boy, a major personal milestone that might have suggested a new chapter and a different direction. Then came another turn. In April 2026, he was arrested again, this time in Gwinnett County. The reported charges included felony drug possession, obstruction, speeding, and a seatbelt violation,
What made the moment spread even faster online was the detail that he was wearing a Pikachu costume at the time. That unusual image immediately fueled reaction across social media, turning a legal story into a viral spectacle almost overnight.
With every new arrest, the public reaction has only grown louder. Each case has drawn more attention than the one before it. Every incident has generated another wave of online commentary, memes, and debate. What might once have stayed local has instead become internet theater, replayed and dissected far beyond the original event. The family context has made all of it even more intense. These developments have unfolded while his father, T.I., carries his own well-known history with the federal justice system. More than that, T.I. has openly urged his son to change direction, making public appeals for him to make better choices and step away from this cycle. That background has added another layer to every headline, because the story is no longer just about King as a young public figure. It also becomes a story about legacy, pressure, and whether patterns inside a famous family can truly be broken. One of the most talked about moments came when footage of T.I. visiting King during this detention began circulating online. The clip spread quickly, and once it did, it became much bigger than a private family visit. To many viewers, it looked like a deeply personal moment playing out in front of the entire internet. To others, it was another painful example of how life inside a celebrity family can turn even serious situations into public content. That is part of what makes this story so difficult to look away from. On one side, there is a young man insisting he wants to define himself on his own terms. On the other, there is a growing list of incidents that keeps pulling him back into a public identity shaped by controversy instead of accomplishment. The more he tries to separate his name from family baggage, the more each new arrest seems to tie him back to it.
For now, the timeline speaks for itself. A 2022 arrest involving speeding and a suspended license, a missed court date leading to a bench warrant, a 2024 arrest in Dunwoody after nearly hitting a police vehicle, followed by booking in DeKalb County and a transfer to Pickens County. Charges in that county later dropped in August 2025, the birth of his son in November 2025. Then in April 2026, another arrest in Gwinnett County on multiple charges, in circumstances that instantly became a social media sensation. Taken together, those moments form more than a list. They create a public narrative that keeps getting harder to escape. And for someone who has said he wants to be recognized for his talent and individuality, that may be the most frustrating part of all. The clip didn't explode online because it uncovered some shocking new secret. People shared it so widely because it seemed to validate a fear longtime watchers of this family have quietly carried for years. Each new incident makes the pattern harder to ignore, and the gap between a minor traffic issue and consequences that could permanently change a life appears to be getting smaller every time. Up to this point, law enforcement has not made any public comment about the statements circulating on social media. Even without an official response, the public has already started forming strong opinions. Online, the discussion is moving fast, and many viewers are treating this as another troubling sign rather than an isolated moment. Now the focus turns to King Harris. The real question is whether he sees this as a serious warning or brushes it off like one more chapter in a familiar routine. That decision could shape what happens next in a very real way.
What can no longer be dismissed is the seriousness of the situation. This is not speculation anymore. It is no longer some distant possibility people debate from the sidelines. The risks have moved out of the abstract and into plain view. They exist in real time. They are part of the public record. And with every new development, the pressure only seems to grow.